Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Thank you for joining me today. So today I am working on a double page layout for our Disney scrapbook, and I'm really excited about these funny pictures here of my family in the candy store at Magic Kingdom. Everyone just has some really funny expressions on their faces. But I am going to be making a double page layout with some papers from the Happiest Place collection, as well as a few scraps like this one pulled in from some other places as well. In our scrapbook, I have been using that same paper collection and color scheme all throughout just to make everything coordinate. For today's pattern, I am using Make It From Your Heart Volume 3, pattern number 3, which does call for 4x6 pictures in a vertical orientation. I'm going to have 6 pictures though, so I'll pull in a flip flap later. Now, before I cut into this full 12 by 12 sheet of the red and white pattern that I want on my layout, I am noticing that on the back side, I have these really cute black and white stripes. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off this branding strip up here at the top of the page before I make my initial cut for today's layout. And what I'm going to do is make sure that I have my paper going in a certain direction. It doesn't really matter on the red side that I'm going to use on today's layout, but in the future, I might want to use that black and white stripe paper. And when I do, I know I'm going to want my stripes to be running vertically. Is anyone else out there like this with your striped paper? I have to have it going like this, where the stripes run in that orientation. Otherwise, I don't really care for the look of it. And that is the kind of pattern too that I love to just cut like a small little 12-inch by, I don't know, 1 inch or half-inch strip off of and use it as like a border. So I just like to be very strategic in cutting any kind of paper that has a stripe pattern to it. Is anyone else like that, or is it just me? All right, before I begin, I will edge distress all of my papers here with some coordinating ink colors. I just swipe my ink pad directly to the edge of the paper, and it's a pretty fast process. And then I'm going to go ahead and start laying things out on my base page. Now, for that random scrap of black and white pattern paper, this was literally the only piece I had left. It was exactly 2 inches, which is what I needed it to be. But I need it to span across both the right and the left-hand page. So if I am careful about how I cut this, I can just do little pieces and make sure that my photo is going to hide wherever I am missing the rest of that pattern paper. So this was a pretty easy thing to do, and that way I was still able to use that one tiny little 2 by 12 scrap and make it look like it is a continuous piece of paper that is running across both the left and the right page of my layout. So I'm just kind of using that photo there as a guide to make sure that I am cutting my pieces big enough to fill in the gaps between where they're going to show. And I'm using my T-square ruler to make sure that I put it all on straight so that, it does look like one piece of pattern paper. And it ended up being just the right amount. I had plenty actually left over. I probably could have saved even a little bit more of this little 2 by 12 scrap, but it all goes down on today's layout. So I'll get that final piece all set for the left-hand page, and then I will do the same thing over on the right-hand side when I get to that top row of pattern paper for the layout. Now, before I put my photos down, I do want to add a couple of splatters. So this is just some black, I don't know, it's like a stain or spray, but I'm going to unscrew the top and then tap against the top there so that I get that splatter effect. And this dries pretty quickly. I've done a lot of splatters on other pages in this Disney scrapbook, so I'm just trying to keep things cohesive and, use the same techniques over and over again so that all the pages go together in that way. So I like the splatters, but now that I've got everything on here, it's looking really busy. I had originally thought that I was going to use that stamp set, which has a lot of really fun background images on it. And I thought I was going to stamp some of those like circles and like the stars coming out from behind my photos. But like I said, it's looking a little busy. So instead, I think I might do, I don't know, something around the edge of the page, or maybe just across the top of that black piece of paper. And then I saw there's this one little tiny stamp in there, and I think I might stamp that in yellow, just going across the top of the black, which you can't really see in the video, but when we get to the still shots at the end, you'll be able to catch some peeks of that. It's just a fun little way to bring in a little bit of yellow to this layout. Okay, I am using a flip flap, like I said, to make sure that I can get those 2 extra pictures onto this layout. So I've got the first one down there just to help me as far as placement goes. And then I'm sliding my T-square ruler down a little bit so that way I can make sure everything is lined up. You know, there is a little bit of plastic around the outside of the photo, and so I have to kind of move my ruler down a little bit. Sorry about my head there, to make sure that even though I'm using the ruler, that the edges of the 2 photos are going to be on the same level. And then I will pull that adhesive backing off and just make sure that this is burnished really well. And then later I will add a little bit of glue to my other 4x6 photo and stick it behind that flip flap. There were just too many cute pictures from this particular place on our trip that I could not leave any of them off of my layout. So a flip flap it had to be. Okay, I knew what I wanted my title for this layout to be. I'm thinking like a kid in a candy store, because I mean, the 3 kids are in the candy store, and honestly, my husband looks just as excited as they are to be in the candy store. So there's my cat Petunia, who is getting cat hair all over this layout now, I might add. And so I knew that that's what the title was going to be. Now I used my Cricut to cut out candy store, and I did cut it twice because I'm planning to glue them together. And then I used some die cuts to cut out the word kid. I thought I would do like a, in a, to fill in the rest of my title, like stamped and maybe on little strips of paper. But once I start laying it all out, I really am not loving it. I did cut that white bracket to put behind the word kid because it was getting a little lost on that red and white polka dot paper. But even so, I don't like the look of that. I don't care for the look of candy store over top of that red pattern paper. So I'm going to try a little something. I grabbed another piece of Glacier cardstock, which is the same color as that tiny little strip that's running across that pattern piece. And I'm going to cut a bigger strip and make it just big enough for the title to sit on. And I'm going to see if I like that. So I'm going to kind of do a little practice run here and move this left-hand page back so that I can see both sides together and which version I'm going to like better. And yes, I do like that. I think it needs that. And I'll probably cut like a dovetail here and just kind of trim some of that off. So this piece that I've already glued down is going to have to come up. I know I can't be the only crafter who does that, you know, glues things down and changes her mind, but it was fine. I used my rub and remove eraser and all was well. I was able to get that pulled up nicely. And then I will just trim this down here and put my title down, like I said, with a dovetail, and probably a dovetail on the other side too. So a couple of years ago, we went to Disney and it was a lot of fun. It was the very first time that our family of 5, our little family of 5, had gone on a vacation with just the 5 of us. Like everything else that we had done had always been, you know, camping with extended family or things of that nature. And we hadn't really left the state of Michigan with the kids before. So it was a really big deal. And I just think that the kids' faces in these photos really say it all. All of their photos from this trip to Disney, they just have these gigantic smiles on their faces. But like I said, being in the candy store was really a highlight. We are a family that really likes to eat candy. And so it was super exciting. And even my husband just has this grin on his face from ear to ear. And the pictures just crack me up every time I look at them. So like I said, kid in a candy store, like a kid in a candy store, I thought was going to be the perfect title to capture the essence of these photos. So I'm looking at it and kind of wondering if now I want to stamp that other part of the title above the word candy, as opposed to trying to use those die cut letters for kid. And then since I had this white scallop square that I had cut out before, I was trying to use it for journaling, but I ended up stamping some journaling lines off there to the right hand side on the top of the page. And so I've got that all kind of glued down and figured out. Now I am to the embellishment part. So for this Disney album that I've been working on, I just have been, anytime I cut extra shapes or things, and like I said, everything is using the same paper pack and colors and things like that. I've just been putting any of my extras in this bag, and that way when I go to embellish a layout for this album, I have a lot of things already cut or handy that I can use as a starting place when I'm embellishing. So I've done a lot of circles on my other layouts, so I'm trying to work in a couple of circles and Mickey heads here, but you know, at first I'm not really loving them, but what I am liking is that color yellow. I think that pops really nicely. So I remembered I had some leftover stamped and die cut stars from a previous layout sitting in that bag, so I had exactly 3 left, and I like those around the title here. Now that means I need a little bit more yellow elsewhere in my title. So I go back again to the yellow circle and I try moving it around a little bit. It takes a little while before it finds its home. That's not going to be it just yet. But again, just kind of moving stuff around, trying to see what is going to work. And as I'm digging through that bag, I find this little piece here. It was part of a kit that came with this paper collection, and I had ended up not using it, and so it had already been glued at one point, and I pulled it off of the page I originally made with it, and I saved it. So I'm going to try to work it in here. It does have a little bit of that Glacier color, like a half circle behind it, and then that fun red ticket. I wasn't loving the Glacier half circle. The way that I had those two glued together, it kind of made that ticket go off at a weird angle. So I cut them apart, and here is where that yellow circle is going to make an appearance and find its home. I like that much better there. And then, so I'll cut that in half so that I can be thrifty and use the other half of the circle elsewhere. I'm going to layer that up in the top corner of that photo, and then I'll put the other side of that circle up here. And then now I can bring in that Mickey head once again, and I can put the Mickey head over there, and I'm going to put a red heart up here and that half of the circle. Now I'm seeing I've got that visual triangle going on with my yellow points. Actually, I have a couple different triangles happening, but it all works. And I'm going to move that red heart over because I know I have a stamp somewhere in here that says the word yummy. And this is from the Taking It All In stamp set from Close to My Heart. It was an old one from years ago. And sure enough, I found that word yummy, so I stamped it onto that yellow circle. Now, some of these I popped up with foam tape, and other things I just glued flat to the page, but I love the way that that's kind of coming together. And honestly, it was really simple to embellish this page. I've been trying to do that with my Disney pages so that I can work through this album a little bit more quickly than I scrapbook other pages. And so I tend to keep them a little bit on the simple side, but still doing things like splatters and whatnot, maybe some stitching here or there, just to kind of add a little bit of extra interest. So this layout came together pretty quickly. I'm very happy about it. And like I said, just love looking back at those photos because they are too cute. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I am just scrapbooking away and using all the things that I have in my stash. So I don't really have anything to offer you in the description box down below, but I do appreciate that you are here supporting me. And if you're not already a subscriber, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and the like as well. And I will see you guys next time. Happy crafting. Bye.